Good morning, everybody. It's Will and Teddy with our live JumpStart. Glad you are here. Teddy is inspecting the microphone. Let me move the mic so you can say, hello, there's my buddy. Hey. This is the most interesting dog I have ever known. Oh, stop that. He loves to cuddle. His absolute favorite thing is to be held and to he'll put his arms around my neck and let's see if I can get him to do it. Do you want to just give me a hug? There we go. There we go. Yeah, Teddy would spend his entire day like this. Isn't this awesome? If you've got to be quarantined with somebody, Teddy is definitely the guy you want to be quarantined with. Speaking of which, I was hearing people yesterday talking on a podcast about the fact that how great it is that they are not in old relationships they were in or having roommates they were in. I am watching right now, must be 50 pelicans flying overhead. They are still going over. Wow, absolutely beautiful. Wherever you are, I hope it's beautiful. I'm hearing from a lot of people about spring coming up in their areas, and that tends to give us all hope, which is really, really wonderful. So I want to talk this morning about what I call what's next. Good morning, Jerome. Glad you are here as always, and Linda is with us as well. So very great to have you. Sorry, somebody was texting me that I thought was relevant to this podcast. Anyway, I want to talk about what I call what next. And here's what I mean by that, what next. Today is Monday. Normally, most of you would be getting up and going to work. So you're not. You're either going to try and work from home or you're not going to be working. I heard someone say the other day, "Good morning, Janet. Glad you are here." You are not working from home. You are sheltering at home from a global pandemic and being expected to work. There's a very difference between the two. So how do we make this new normal better, and how do we build on this going forward? And that's what I want to address today. This new normal. I spoke the other day about the fact that the word quarantine comes from quaranta, which is Italian, and it means 40. It means long enough. Good morning, Janet. Thank you. Teddy says hi. Let's see if I can get him over here. There he is. Anyway, quaranta means 40, and in the Bible, 40 means long enough, an indeterminate. Hey, Scott, glad you're here. Trish, good morning. Saw a picture of you and your hubby this morning on Facebook. How long is this going to last? We've talked about this. It's going to last not nearly as long as we are afraid it might, but it's going to last longer than we like it to, and we know that for a fact. And the word quaranta means 40. In the Bible, 40 means long enough. Jesus was in the wilderness long enough. 40 days, 40 nights, etc. I'm trying to move this around so y'all can see Teddy. Anyway, so the purpose of the 40 in the Bible, long enough, means long enough for things to change. It means long enough for things to change. So I think we're going to be in this pandemic. I think we're going to be at home long enough for us to change. So my question is, how are you going to change going forward? What next? One of the challenges I think that we experience, mostly us men, is that we get a lot of our identification and our self-worth from what we do for a living. And if you can't do what you do for a living, it can be a real challenge. It can make you feel sad. It can make you feel unimportant. And so I want to invite you today, because I don't know about you, for decades, I worked a regular job. I sold radio advertising. I sold yellow page advertising. I sold cell phones. I did all kinds of things. And what I discovered was that in radio, Mondays tended to be when clients would cancel their advertising schedule. In other words, they would give it over the weekend to see if it was working in their minds effectively. And on Mondays, they would call and say they were canceling. So Mondays became sort of cancellation days. And I began to really, really hate Mondays. And I was only in radio for about 15 years. But what I find is that still to this day on Mondays, I will often wake up and feel a little anxious, like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to come. And it has been years of me reworking in my mind and reworking in my calendar to figure out how best to live so that Mondays are awesome. Mondays are great days. So my question for you is, What are you going to bring from this pandemic time into your new reality? When we are back together, when we are able to go out, when we are able to hang out with friends and to go back to work and things establish some sort of normalcy, we don't want to go back to exactly the way things were. People keep saying we do, and I disagree with that point. We don't. There are things that were not ideal in the way things were, and we can improve on them. For example, my good friend Brian, who's been my prayer partner for 10 years, and he was on a couple of days ago watching. He may be with us today. Anyway, I know that Brian has always struggled with getting himself to exercise, but now with the pandemic going on, he has taken that time that he normally goes to work and he's gotten to where he's exercising. Now, if he were to only do that for a week or two, chances are he would not change and be a different person once things resume what we used to consider normal. But because we're going to be out for a while, he's continuing to exercise, and it's actually becoming a part of who he is. So going forward in this pandemic, we have to be careful of what becomes a part of who we are. What I mean is that there are some, for example, first week of the pandemic, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I had bought so much food that I just started eating it. And within a week, I had put on, you ready for this? 13 pounds. Now, I've already lost 7 of them, but it would have been very easy during this time to have allowed that sort of eating behavior to become who I am going forward. Instead, I've chosen to go back and to eat the way I know to eat, and I've already lost 7 of the pounds, and I'm feeling so much better. And the other thing is, instead of putting, fitting in my exercise at the end of the day when I can, etc., and oftentimes not feeling like it, I now do 100 push-ups every day before lunch. And what was interesting was I started out doing 15 because that's all I could do. And I would do 6 sets of 15 plus 1 set of 10. And then I started doing 20 and I would do 5 sets of 20. Well, now I'm up to 3 sets of 30 and 10 more. So what now for me is I want to continue to do this exercise on a daily basis and get that out of the way first thing in the morning so I don't feel like, oh, I've got to do this later on. As I before, no matter how much you ask me, you've exercised enough. So, or that you look forward to it, I should say, that you look forward to it. So one day when you might normally be going back to work, Teddy and I want to know, we would like to know what's going to be different about your life in the future. What have you already learned about yourself, or what are you learning about yourself? And if you know, you're welcome to comment, you're welcome to share, but what have you figured out about yourself? Several people have said that their entire priorities have changed because now that they're home with their families, now that they're not getting that ID from work, that self-worth, several people have said that going forward, they're going to spend more time with their children. I was talking to somebody the other day who would always try and work in reading a story to his kids at night. And now he's reading the story to them first thing in the morning when they get up. And he said that going forward, that is one of the things he's going to do. So what is it? Ask yourself, what have I learned about myself? People are reaching out to other people as never before. People are dropping grudges, forgiving family members, calling them. Are we going to go back to sleep? Are we going to reactivate those grudges? Gosh, I hope not. See here that a whole bunch of new people have joined me. I want to welcome them. I see Trish. I see Michael is here. Good morning, redbuds and dogwood blooming. Beautiful. I miss dogwoods. Good morning, says Helen. Susie says, hello from Quebec. Glad you are here. Janet says, I look great. Thank you very much. It's the 100 push-ups a day. That's my coffee maker going off in the background telling me that coffee's done, finished. In other words, it's been on long enough. I've learned the lost art of simplicity, walks, gardening, playing board games. Cheryl Ann, that's a great answer. Hello from Scotland. Hello, Lisa. Welcome. Glad you are here to be part of the complaint-free world in Scotland. That is awesome. So ask yourself, what are you going to do going forward? That's number one question. How is your life going to change? How do you see yourself coming out of this? Hello, Larissa. We talked about that the other day. We talked about how you're going to come out of this, and you get to decide. Excuse me. Speaking of coffee, you get to decide how you are going to come out of this. And so, in what ways are you going to maintain those closer relationships with your friends and family that you've established now through Facebook and through Zoom and on the phone? Are you going to continue to be close to those people, or are you going to just drift away when they're no longer your lifeline and your life rope? I was hearing a podcaster yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that he has a lot of friends, but he realizes that he doesn't do enough to maintain those relationships. I try to call a friend every single day, and I don't sit around and going, well, nobody's calling me, because if I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. It is not their responsibility to call me, and I don't want to tell myself that story. So what are you going to do? How are you going to come out of this? And most importantly, and this is the thing, I was talking earlier about getting our self-worth from this. Hello from Australia. Janice is here from Australia. We've got Scotland representing. We've got Australia. I work in retail and hear so much negativity daily. Starting my day with this positive jumpstart is changing my attitude. Great. Grateful, says Scott. That's awesome, dude. We're going to keep doing this even when things go back. So, hello from New York. Janet says, I'm learning to be more patient, to forgive myself for not being superwoman, to journal consistently. Great. Terry says, call 5 people every day. I like that idea. That's a great idea. So my question to you is, I want to tell you a story. Uh-oh, so a dog is walking by and Teddy hears it. Okay, I want to tell you a story. A few weeks ago, my nephew, Dalton, was in a car accident and has ended up a quadriplegic as a result of it. Teddy, you go check it out, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Now he's really going to get upset. Dalton was in a car accident and is a quadriplegic now. He is going to be in a wheelchair on a ventilator for the rest of his life, and he's 23 years old. Let me say that again. He's 23 years old, and his life as a mobile human being is effectively finished. He is on a ventilator all the time. So all of a sudden, his life changed in a moment. And now he has new decisions as to what life is going to look like for him. What is his value? What is his worth? Your worth came with you when you were born. You are a valuable expression of God in this universe, and it is not about what you do. It is about who you are. Don't confuse what you do with who you are. I can tell you that I do that myself. I have to be very, very careful of that. I remember one time, Susie said she started meditating. Great. If you want to learn to meditate, go back and watch the last 4 days worth of jump starts that I have done. They're in the archives. Go back and watch those, and I take you through real meditations and teach you how to do this on a daily basis. I just finished doing my meditation right before I did this. One day I was speaking in China in front of 5,000 people, and before I went on, I went out and walked around the venue at this huge hall in which they were holding this convention center. And when I walked out, my book is a big deal in China. There are people who always recognize me in China. Not here. I always joke I'm the most famous person you've never heard of here in the United States. But in China, people know me. You know, to quote Ron Burgundy, I don't know how to say this, but I'm kind of a big deal. Anyway, I walked out, and there were all these people started recognizing me to the point where bodyguards had to surround me, police, and walk me away. Inside, I went, wow. My ego just went, I am such an important person. I am so great. You know what I noticed when I went back to my hotel room that night? I was very sad. I was very sad because I had put my emphasis or my focus on how I am in the world rather than who I am inside. I am a precious person. I am a person who has worth and value, and it's not what I do. If everything changed and all of a sudden, for me, if I lost my voice and could no longer speak, My ability to contribute in the world would have to change, but my value is intact. I remember one time I quit my job back in the, 30 years ago. I actually had a very good job making over $100,000, but I wanted to start my own company. And I quit my job and I ended up delivering pizzas for Domino's to make money. So as I was building my business, and I remember going to deliver a pizza to one of my former colleagues' house. I showed up and there I was. The pizza guy was Will. And here I had been one of the top salespeople at this radio station for almost several years. And I had left. And I remember the look they gave me. And I remember walking away thinking, man, I am such a loser. Here I am 30 years old and delivering pizzas. And then I remembered what I do has nothing to do with who I am. I have been a bingo caller, a DJ, a radio announcer, sold pretty much everything you can think of. And no matter what I do, at my core, who I am is blessed and essential. So let me ask you, who and how are you at your core? If you could never go back to work, could you still feel the same sense of value and importance and, more importantly, self-worth? Your self-worth is intact. One of the most important things about being a salesperson I found is that some days you're the hero and some days you're the goat. And if your self-worth is tied to whether or not you're the hero, then you're going to be in trouble. I remember one time I was selling Yellow Page advertising in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, did that for years. And Burroughs and Chapin is a real estate company there that owns most of Myrtle Beach. And they were my client. And my job was to make sure they kept all their ads in the Yellow Pages and, if anything, get them to increase the size of the ad. I got to go about that day. Thanks for the talk. Really miss your podcast. Says Chris. Great to hear you, Chris. Thank you very much. Anyway, they canceled all of their advertising. They literally canceled all of their advertising, like $5,000 a month that they were spending on advertising, which was a huge amount of money back then. And the way my job worked was if anybody canceled, I had to replace it. That just put me back to ground zero. So I was $5,000 in the hole. And I was bummed out. But I remembered that there are days up and there are days down. And if you focus on the days down, you stay down. If you focus on the days up, you stay up. And regardless of the day, who I am is intact. The very next day, I sold a full double truck ad in the Yellow Pages. For those of you who can remember what Yellow Pages were, I sold both two side-by-side full page ads to a Chinese restaurant, and then I sold a car dealership the back cover, and all of a sudden I was way ahead. How did I feel then? Awesome. I felt great. How did I feel the day? Bummed out. However, I did not allow that to change how I felt about me. What other people do, what the environment does, what the virus does not change your essential value. So this morning, on this Monday morning, during our time together, I just wanted to tell you how valuable and important you are as a human being. It's not what you do, it's not what you give, it's who you are. And when you focus on your own internal value, you find it easier to give because you're not giving from a hole. You're not in that deficit position like I felt when all that Yellow Page advertising was canceled. You are in a positive position and you feel easier and more comfortable contributing at a higher level. So ask yourself, where are you going to be at the end of this? And begin to think about that. What are you going to bring from this experience? After it's lasted long enough, what are you going to do to make your life even better? And can you, during this time, when you may not be able to work or not work at the level you would like, can you still realize and know and believe that you are valuable exactly as you are? Because you are. Take that in today. Let that swirl around in your brain. If you want something to do, take a look at my complaint-free life program. You've got time. There's 30 days there that it's absolute. It is complaint-free life.com. And I know a bunch of you have been signing up, which is really, really awesome. You get 30 days free, and you also get 10 videos, 10 audios, 10 complaint-free bracelets. I see Bill Hammond sent me Forrest Gump. Janice Chalmers says, great words, Marie. I've always given to others more than myself, so need to balance that out. Yes, that is a mark of insecurity. Terry Winscott, she spent 20 years at AT&T. And Kim Russell says, hello from O'Fallon, Illinois. Thank you for your wonderful words of encouragement. When I get complimented, Scott Ware says, on my awesome training skills, I say thank you, and then use that Ron Burgundy quote. I love that. I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm kind of a big deal. If you haven't watched Anchorman while you're at home, watch Anchorman. I love carpet. I love lamp. That's one of the fun. Anyway, everybody, my pleasure. It's been a blessing to be with you. Be with me tomorrow morning. Set a timer, 8 a.m. I'll be here every single day. Be sure and sign up if you have not yet to receive an email on a daily basis that sends you a summary of what we talked about and so much more. You can get that at, I just went blank. Oh, I know what it is. Will Bowen, www.willbowen.com/blog. All right. Enjoy today, and we'll talk tomorrow. Everybody, here's any more messages. Hello, Mike. There's my buddy Mike from my university who actually teaches my book or gives my book to all of his students. Everybody be blessed, be safe, stay apart, but stay connected. Enjoy today, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Bye-bye.